Welcome to the video. I'm the Smiley, a Steam achievement hunter who allows my viewers on Twitch and YouTube to suggest games that we add to a randomizer for us to complete. The randomizer did not disappoint when it spat out Ori and the Blind Forest, so I just had to complete the sequel too. Developed again by Moon Studios and released back in 2020, this game perfectly builds upon the story that we're following Ori, and the game is just gorgeous again. But following on from the first game, there's a few major differences that this game has to offer, mainly in the combat, as we now have a wide range of choice when it comes to attacking enemies. The boss fights have changed to be actual fights rather than just chase sequences and become a real challenge, especially on the harder difficulties. And this game has a higher focus, in my opinion, in combining the skills you learn when maneuvering around the world with its slick platforming controls. But back to the achievement grind, and with the guide estimating the time for completion to be around 20 to 25 hours for the 100%, that's the challenge I set myself to be in, or even better. So how do we go about starting the achievement grind? Well, there are a few achievements which are related specifically to completing the game with certain criteria met. These are completing the game in hard, beating the game in under 4 hours, beating the game without dying, completing the game without equipping a shard. These are a bit like the charms in Hollow Knight and give you an additional perk or boost, and finally complete the game without spending any spirit light, which is like the currency in this game. Effectively, you could get all the achievements in one playthrough, but that would mean playing on hard without spending any spirit light, without using any shards, and completing it under 4 hours without dying. As much as we pretend that we are a professional gamer, I'm just not that good. It took me 3 runs, and here's how we split it. Step 1, we played on hard mode and just enjoyed the game for the first completion, learning the routes and everything that this game has to offer. And just like we did in the first game, dying a lot, especially on the new boss fights, which feel epic but can be quite a challenge, especially on harder difficulties. Once we completed the game on hard, we move forward to getting 100% on this save file by finding all the collectibles and unlocking all of the miscellaneous achievements that we could. Step 2, this is both the speed run and the deathless run combined in one. Unlike Ori and the Blind Forest, there is a way that you can cheese the deathless run and you can play it on any difficulty. We also did this run without equipping any of the shards. Step 3, this could have been combined in the second step, but I wanted to be that little bit safer, and the final run was a quick blast through the completion without spending any spirit light. Okay, with that cleared up, we now head off on the completion, and we start the game with high expectations, coming off the back of another completion of the first game, and we head back into Nebel, and the game begins with a much friendlier cutscene than the first one did. We meet a new family member, which is Kuro's egg. This is hatched and we take care of her. If you've not seen the first game, Kuro sacrifices herself. We see how the family is bonding, and we teach our new little friend called Ku how to fly, but they have a broken wing, and as the season progress into winter, Ku is dreaming of being able to fly. Ori then has a brilliant idea to use Ku's dead mother's feather and attach it to the broken wing, and then Ku learns how to fly and glide. Don't think Ori actually told Ku this was from your dead mum. Soaring into the air, and with Ori on the back, flying further and further away from home until the weather takes a turn for the worst, and the feather that we attached is blown off, sending both of us crashing to the ground in an unfamiliar location, and we are approached by these cat creatures, and here is where we get full control of Ori in the Inkwater Marsh. During this section, we are once again introduced to the consumables and collectibles that we can find, such as life orbs, which when found heal our health by 1 to begin with, and in typical fashion fall into toxic water and die, meaning we can't get one of the achievements here, and we'll have to do another playthrough to get it, but more on that later. We find our first life cell fragment, which in this game you need to find 2 of them, or 2 of the energy fragments, before your health or energy does increase. We cannot progress further in this section, and we need to head back slightly to the way where we were meant to go, find a spirit container for more spirit light, which in this game is used to purchase shards, abilities and maps of the areas that we are in, if we can find the map guy. Hunting around for more hidden secrets, we come across a torch that we can pick up and light the way ahead, and this can also be used in combat before the path is blocked off by a keystone door, and we need to find the keystones again to unlock it, which if you've not played the game before, we have it explained by a character we meet. Whilst looking for the keystones, we enter a battle area and obviously defeated it first time. We did panic about not being able to create soul links to save the progress, but here's where we find out the save system in this game is a lot more forgiving than the save system in the first one. After taking down the enemy, we are taught another ability that we start off with and we don't need to unlock, and that being cling to any of the blue moss we see dotted around the map of Newent. We found one of the keystones and return back to Quack, who gives us a second to be able to unlock the keystone door. Moving backwards, we see a massive shadow lurking in the distance. We unlock the keystone gate and we move forward, only for the shadow to jump in and ambush us, and a little chase sequence begins. Once the chase sequence is over, we pick up another torch and a fight begins. In this game, the boss fights are that, fights. You'll have to learn the patterns of the boss and when it's safe to attack. Playing on hard difficulty for the first playthrough shows you just how little damage we actually do, and proceed to die. But on the second attempt, we defeat the boss, the wolf runs off, unlocking our first achievement. Achievement unlocked, fend off Howl. Backtracking to where Howl chases, we head downwards into Howl's den, ignoring the mass amounts of skeletons that are decorating the area before discovering an ancient tree that knocks us out. We get a glimpse of Naru and Gumo, who are looking for us but cannot find us, before we see the cat-like creatures again. These cat-like creatures are amazed by us, and we unlock the ability in the Spirit Edge. We can now attack enemies with the Spirit Edge instead of having to rely on Scene to deal damage, and we've now got a big kick-ass sword. We find our first Spirit Shard in Magnet, which attracts all Spirit Lad we find, making it easier to pick up. We equip this. Doing this also unlocks another one of the achievements, so we can't do it in this run. Again, more on this later. We find out the cat-like creatures are called the Morke. They then give us our next quest line to find Quallock in Quallock's Hollow for the quest Guardian of the Marsh. In this game, there is a main story and also side quests we can do along the way. We move forward, taking down as many enemies as we see to build our Spirit Light containers before finding another ancient tree, and this time the skill that we get is double jump, and using this ability we get another shard in Sticky, where we now cling to walls. We located the first of the Spirit Wells to give us a fast travel point and a safe space to save, which also heals us up fully. We leave Howl's Den, heading towards Quallock's Hollow before stumbling across our first side quest. This side quest is to locate a Fang from Hollow that it might have dropped after a bit of platforming section. We find the Fang, return it back, and the Morke, who in turn gives us a Gorlek ore. And we are told at this point they are used to repair structures and will become more apparent throughout the game. Moving towards Quallock, we find yet another ancient tree which teaches us regenerate. We can use this skill to refill our health, pretty self-explanatory, and becomes a big part of the playthrough. We find a little dude called Lupo who we could purchase a map from for the area that we find them in, and using Spirit Light also locks us out of another achievement being able to complete in this playthrough. Before we get to Quallock's Hollow, we meet another character that we see staring at the well springs in the distance before we both jump from a screech from a terrifying shadow in the background. The weapons master wonders why Shriek is so far from her nest, but he offers to teach us some skills, and the Twitch chat suggested that the best skill to grab first is Spirit Smash, and after grinding out a few more Spirit Lights, we bought it. Moving forward, we see the Morke. They tell us that they found Ku falling, and we see a cutscene showing Ku looking a little bit lost. The Morke then reveal a statue, and we must locate its eyes before we can progress down for Ku. We also get another skill in Spirit Arc that we can use to shoot these orbs, which make changes to the map. Locating the second health and energy fragment so we can buff our energy and health totals by one more container, before stumbling upon a rumour and finding a combat shrine. These are a combat room in which waves of enemies spawn, and after dying a fair few times and learning the enemies we're facing off against, the first shrine is taken down and we are rewarded with another shard slot. After getting a little bit lost, finding the second of the eyes, we return them and the jaws of the statue open, leading us into Quallock's Hollow. Finally, we speak with Twillin, who sells us shards that we will need to buy for 100% and also upgrades that we need to purchase too. Another Morke tells us about another rumour of a spirit trial, which is just a race from one location to another whilst beating a ghost for a specific time. But before we get there, we struggle with a platforming section to get a rock onto a pressure plate to open the door for us. Onto the next ancestral tree, we gain the ability to dash, which is one of the best skills in the game and is found on the main route rather than a detour like the first game. Dash makes the bosses that a little bit easier by helping in evading their attack. Finding Lupo, we buy the map for this section, and it does unlock quite a lot on the map for us to actually see, making navigation a whole lot easier. And finally, we get another achievement, this one for watching enemies die in the environment. Achievement unlocked: defeat 10 enemies using environmental hazards. Easy. But onto the spirit trial. Racing against a ghost, and after memorizing the route, we easily beat it. But this is obviously the easiest trial of them all, and we are rewarded with 1,000 spirit light and my name on the leaderboard. Top 800,000th in the world. True gamer. But back to the main story to make more progression and ignoring how many times we die. Speaking of dying, the next room we enter is a boss fight. This massive beetle that we can only attack from the back of it to deal damage. But we persevere and take the boss down, and we unlock this. Achievement unlocked. Take the bug by the horn, defeat the horn beetle. Then it's time for another ability from an ancestral tree, and this time it's Bash, another skill from the first game, but as it's changed the button you press to use it, it confused me for a while, but Bash opens up loads of the map for us to get to, and again is so strong in this game. We then finally meet Quallock, who has been the end of the main quest we've been trying to complete for some time here. Quallock tells us that Ku is stuck in the silent woods, and the path to get there is blocked by foul, impassable water. So we need to fix this by heading to the well springs and starting up the water mill, which is currently set silent. Quallock also gives us a Wisp, which is basically seen that will guide us on our journey, and as a bonus, health and energy increase for finding this Wisp. So off on our journey to fix the water mill, collecting as much of the collectibles that we find along the way before stumbling upon the Wellsprings Glades itself and unlocking this achievement. Reach the Wellspring Glades achievement unlocked. This is like the homestead or base camp for this game, and we'll end up back here doing side quests and speaking to a lot of the NPCs throughout the game. Here's where we learn that we can fix up the base using the golek ore that we found so far. The first one we repair is the spirit well, so we can use this point as a fast travel once we unlock that ability. We can also check with one NPC for our statistics at this point of the game, and well, so far we've died 51 times. Leaving behind the camp and progressing towards the mill and entering the big section for this mill. Then in here, this is where I'd say the game's platforming takes a massive jump up in difficulty, but once you've pulled it off, it does look so fresh and so clean. Making our way through the mill, destroying all of the corruption which is preventing the mill from working. As we go, we buy the map to see everything in this section and finding an ancestral tree that teaches us grapple. When we get a grapple, it allows us to cling to anything blue and pull ourselves to it. The flowers on the roof of the walls we attach to, but the flowers that are dangling we fly through, which helps platforming later on, but it does take quite a bit to get used to. In this section, there are a few rooms that take us to the different areas that we need to explore, using all of our platform abilities, avoiding the death lasers, and then taking on the combat areas too. And stumbling upon the Great Library is where we find the best skill for traversing around the map, where we can teleport back to any of the wells from wherever we are. After jumping out of our skin, we find out what is causing the corruption in the mill, and a chase sequence begins. And with that, on our second attempt, we unlock this achievement. We let the waters flow achievement unlocked. Second attempt to that as well. And now we can swim in water. This is where you need to get to without touching any of the corrupted water for one of the later achievements. Teleporting around the map to make it just that little bit faster, we enter the Silent Woods in our quest to find Ku. Before stumbling upon Ku, our happiness is rudely interrupted by Shriek, who is lurking in the distance. We now take control of Ku, her gliding ability and her gust ability to ignite large fires so we can glide over them. Moving through the Silent Woods to find Kuro's feather, we are almost caught by Shriek and have to avoid them. Instead of just grabbing the feather when we got to it, we left it, and Shriek comes after us and what looks like stomping on Ku. When Ori wakes up, we shout out hoping for a reply, but we find a lifeless body. Even the Morky are sad and help us take Ku home, where we look to have given up before a light piques our interest. We follow it to the big frog guy who tells us the lore around the main quest. We learn that when Willow's end, the light is shattered and the Wisps are scattered throughout Nebel. With the help of Morky, the locations have been found and located for us to rescue. 4 in total, along with the 5th we already have, which is the voice. Froggo goes to help and locate one of them, and we head off to find the eye, deep within the shadows. Now I don't think that there is a particular order you're meant to do these in, but as a little bit of a spoiler, this is by far the hardest section, in my opinion anyway. The Morky open up the gates to hell, or to the shadows, with a warning. After dying a few times just to get to this section, this is why it's so hard, and we figure out that we have to follow these fireflies to shine away the darkness. Without it, we die. There are also some plants that illuminate around them and enemies, but we have to be quick and precise. Not really knowing the way around and having a smidge of light source for the harder sections just amplifies how hard it is. And to top it all off, we do enter a section that is lit up. There are so many flying enemies, too many that continually spawn in, but after a whole lot of deaths, we find a well and a safe spot. I mean, did a lot of trying to get through this dark patch, but it took me a while to figure out I was doing it the wrong way. After finding the right way to do it, it does become a whole lot easier, and we do it first try after a sneaky sub on Twitch, which is where I do stream all of this progress. And if you want to follow me, you can do at the Smiley. Anyway, after that shameless plug, we continue following more of the fireflies. We stumble upon another ancient tree which teaches us the skill Flash. We can use our energy to illuminate the surrounding area, making this section that little bit easier, but only if you have the energy. After getting lost in the dark a little bit too many times, we approach the Wisp, but obviously it's not just that simple and we get attacked by a massive spider. Remember, this is my first playthrough. I am playing on hard mode and I've not managed to learn the animations of this fight just yet. I know my shirt changes, it's just that hard, okay? It's a different stream. But there are 3 sections that make up this fight. The first one is just literally dodge and attack the face, as that's all that can be taking damage. After doing enough damage, the spider will fall through the wall, open up the arena and start firing balls of fire, summoning spiders out the ground, and then also firing a death laser at you. Again, only the face takes damage here, but you can fire the balls back for bigger damage. Once you've dealt enough damage off the boss, onto the next section, and thankfully this counts as a checkpoint. I mean, it took around an hour just to get to this point. But the section starts and we look to be escaping but get chased to the next arena. More dodging, more fire, more spiders, more anger, everything at this point. Until the final section where we didn't realise you have to toss up between the darkness hitting you and the energy levels being really low. After an hour on this boss, we finally take it down, unlocking this achievement. I feel like we've done it now, come on. Oh, finally. Achievement unlocked. Fend off Mora. And there's also another achievement for doing all of this without taking any damage, but we're going to leave that till later. Mora then explains that her mind was corrupted after defeating her. We freed her from that corruption and we take the Wisp, and as an added bonus, our health and energy are increased. I decided that the next one that we would head towards would be the Wisp of Strength and fast travel to the nearest well to start making progress towards that and accidentally unlocking this achievement. Juggle 3 more projectiles in over 5 seconds. Instead of going for the Wisp of Strength, we got lost and headed towards the heart in the shifting sands. But first we need to get through the feeding grounds where Shriek is lurking in the foreground again. After sneaking past, we are safe and enter the windswept waste, finding an ancient tree to be able to burrow and dash in the sand, increasing just how many tricks we have when trying to platform around. After getting all the way to the entrance to find the Wisp, we cannot unlock it until we've gotten the rest. Thankfully it's well nearby, so we can come back here when we need to and can teleport straight to this. We teleport back to the home area and help with a few tasks around the glades, improving it using the golem core that's been found so far, and then progressing north towards the next Wisp. The path is currently blocked off by a sleeping bear, and after blowing a gust, we wake the bear up before it snoozed again. In some of the areas we can use these fireballs to shoot out, and when we can light the fires, which melts the surrounding ice, which I didn't figure out, so we headed towards the west to get that Wisp instead. Anyway, making our way west, searching around and destroying decay, we make our way over the gap to the Luma pools, where we need to bounce off these floating bubbles to reach higher grounds. You can also blow the bubbles around with the gust ability to move them around obstacles. Some of these sections are tricky and the time needs to be spot on, but all in all, pretty cool idea and fun to achieve. This next section in this area made so much easier if I have the skill to breathe underwater, with a lot of enemies chasing you that you'll need to use to break walls, and also flowers you'll need to swim through to open up barriers as fast as possible. Finding the map guy, we buy it, obviously, to see where we need to go. We encounter the big frog guy, who again sets off looking for the Wisp. We carry on collecting keystones like doors and stumble upon the ability to swim dash. Basically what it says on the tin, we can now dash underwater. After honing the skill, we find more wells and fast travel points, which come in handy for the 100% grind later on. We stumble upon the frogman again, and he looks a little bit different, and we find out that he's corrupted. And now a chase scene begins. A few attempts at this later, before we enter the arena against it, and so begins another slugfest of learning the attacks, dodging, and most frequently dying. The first part of the boss fight is floating around the map throwing fireballs that we can bash back. It also spawns out arms against the wall, which we need to dodge, firing its massive tongue at us, bashing down on us and sending flames out when it does. After enough health is taken, the arena fills with water. When you're in the water, it creates a roof so you cannot get out, and it sucks in the water so you need to swim dash away. The breathing underwater perk helps here a whole lot, but the only problem being you cannot attack whilst underwater. So clinging to the wall and jumping towards the boss is the only form of attack. And oh yeah, this isn't a checkpoint in the fight, so die here and we're back to the very beginning, which we found out rapidly. After failing a few times at this, we came up with another safer method of just staying under the water and swim dashing out to attack. And we finally took the boss down, unlocking this achievement for beating it in less than 2 minutes, which I double checked when I was editing this video, and it took just over 10 minutes to defeat it, but we take it. Yes, achievement unlocked, defeat Quallock in under 2 minutes. Defeating Quallock and setting the corruption free still wasn't enough to save him, and he perishes from the battle. But the Wisp is ours, and we have the Strength Wisp and another achievement. We fend off Quallock, achievement unlocked. Now back to the north, but after a quick stop to check our stats, 170 deaths so far. I don't actually know if that's good or not. Back to the puzzle I couldn't figure out earlier, and now we've sussed it. We can make progress melting the area around, unlocking the first door. Not long after, we find the map guy and we can see where we need to go. Most of this area is finding the ovens and bashing the fireballs so that you can use them to ignite the ovens and melt all of the ice around. We find the ancestral tree, and now we can learn the ability to launch fireballs ourselves. Some of the areas in the platform in here require us to fire the ball and bash off it to reach great heights. Some of them require us to light torches that open up areas. Some of the areas require us to light torches that open up other areas. This one light took me far too many attempts to ignite, with the flower either eating us or just getting in the way. After a few attempts to make our way around collecting the keystones in the windy section, we do come back to this part later on for a bit of a cheese, but more on that later. On the first way around it though, we do unlock this achievement. Look at that. Defeat 5 enemies without touching the ground, achievement unlocked. This is before the enemies drop into their deaths as we glide about. We find a little path back to the base and unlock triple jump, making our life a little bit easier. Back at the north, and we're almost at the Wisp before being ambushed again by Shriek. She sends us down in an avalanche and also attacks the path ahead, making it even harder to escape safely. At the end, we escape, unlocking this achievement. Escape the avalanche, achievement unlocked as well. The bear digs us out of the snow and tells us Shriek's backstory of her being born without parents, trying to make friends with little baby Coo's family and being banished by them and having to hide in the shadows, fending for herself, turning her heart into stone. But anyway, with that, the wisp is ours, and we can now head back to the final section of the map that we've already been to. A quick fast travel later, and we're back at the temple. The light gives us a history lesson around the lore of the wisps. Open up the statue at the end of the temple, and the wisp combine into see her before we are attacked by the ugliest slug thing I've ever seen. It chases us back out of the temple. This chase sequence is actually crazy. Combining all of the platforming skills we've unlocked so far makes you look amazing at the game. It flows so fluidly and the mechanics of it are just so cool. A few attempts later we unlock this achievement for escaping the ruins. Escape the ruins. Achievement unlocked. And see her before she was rudely interrupted. Tells us where we need to head to now. Fast travel towards that section. Shriek ambushes her yet again, but we see her being so powerful, she sends her off running. We head up towards where Shriek is, taking on the enemies that attack us on this lift before a section that reminds me of the first game. There's teleporters, death lasers, and spikes, but we find the last ancestral tree, and with it launch, which is basically bash, but not having to bash off anything. We enter the Willow's End, where we have more death lasers, more enemies, more spikes, more everything, but thankfully, the strongest character in the game is Lupo, who gives us a map. Quite a lot to destroy in this section, and just like Mount Horu in the first game, each section has its own puzzle to work out and overcome, but at the end, there's a bit of corruption we destroy, but thankfully halfway up, there is a spirit well we can fast travel to after each section. One of the sections is a boss arena. After beating the Willow Stone, we unlock this. There we go. Thank you. Achievement unlocked, defeat the Willow Stone. The fight's pretty easy. It's a combination of bashing its fireballs back and dodging it. After the last bit of corruption is destroyed, we can enter the spirit tree to have Sia restore the balance to all of Nebel. The spirits come flocking back as Sia is reborn for now before telling us to embrace the light, and as we wait to accept, obviously it's not that easy, and Shriek ambushes us yet again for the final boss fight. Now obviously it is the final fight of the game and it's expected to be hard, but this took 2 hours of non-stop attempts to beat, mainly just for one section of the fight. Here are the sections. She flies around spitting out blue flames, blue balls, and stomping on us, firing homing missiles too. And then there's a disgusting attack that she does, flying around the arena, and the speed that you need to react when she flies in from the sides to charge jump over is just a joke. That tied in with the tiny amount of damage that we're actually doing is just scary. By the way, this is just section 1. The second phase starts and we have to fight around us as the arena crumbles around us into the next arena. More attacks and patterns we've got to learn, more sweeping attacks, more fireballs to dodge. But thankfully this part is a checkpoint, so if we die we start from this spot. And then the final section, all of the floor is destroyed. And just watch the first attempt at this section. The reaction time needed to dodge all of these attacks. I mean, it is a checkpoint here, but the final section requires so much effort and focus that this bit took 30 minutes. I can barely see the direction the bird is coming in from, then dodging all the raining bullets, but just enough so we can still bash off them. Even with all this, we've still not attacked Shriek yet to start even doing damage. Thank the Lord. Defeat Shriek. Now do one. Achievement unlocked. I hated every second of that fight. To say I was mad at this section was an understatement. We've done it now, we've beaten the game, and we see Shriek return to where she was born to die. We embrace the light, which is sacrificing ourselves to become the spirit tree, resurrecting Ku in the process. We see us grow, protect the world around us, as our family slowly grow old around us to become part of us. It was the will of the Wisps, which has gone full circle to where the first game started and a light blowing off a branch. With that, 2 more achievements unlocked for completing the game and completing the game on hard mode. At this point, that leaves us with 17 achievements out of 37, not even halfway through after the first playthrough. Now it's time for the 100% grind, where we do unlock the majority of achievements here. Starting with finishing all the combat shrines, where we're beating the last one, we unlocked 2 achievements. The second for upgrading all of the shard slots. The next achievement is for beating all of the spirit trials, which do take a few attempts to complete, but are easily won. Maxing out life for finding all of the hidden life orbs, the same for the energy orbs too. Finding and unlocking all of the shards. Some are found around the map and some are bought, so we need to grind out spirit light, which is helped by putting a few different shards in and heading back to this place we spoke about earlier to cheese a spirit light farm. For completing the trade sequence quest, we unlock this. It's basically to go around the map dropping off different items to NPCs. After finding all of the Golek ore, we can smash 2 more achievements, one for completing all of the projects in the glades and one for beating all of the side quests. Finding all of the collectibles around the world bags us this. Buying all of Lupo's maps unlocks this. We already had everything mapped out, just missed buying the map of one of the areas, so pointless for finding things, but we still well, except the achievement. We destroyed 3 enemies with a single spike for this achievement, which took a few attempts for them to be lined up, and after upgrading the spike to an exploding spike became a lot easier. And then the final 2 achievements for the 100%, after being AFK for 2 hours, we bought all of the upgrades and abilities and all upgrades for the shards, and that's step 1 finally done. Yeah, the first step. 6 more achievements left to get, with 4 of them coming in one more playthrough. The first 3 are pretty straightforward. Beat the game without touching any decrypted water, which can be tricky, but once you complete the well section you do unlock it. Beat the game without equipping any shards, and also beat the game in less than 4 hours, which until editing this video I didn't realise how close we had it. 3 hours and 51 minutes. And then the final achievement we got in this run is a little bit more difficult than those ones, but that was to beat the game without dying. And thankfully this can be cheesed to the absolute maximum. There's an option to relaunch a backup save, so if you die you can relaunch an early save and just carry on from there. I was not doing another 30 plus hours just to get 1 more achievement, but we could have gotten the final 2 achievements in this run, but stupidly bought a map from Lupo at the beginning which locked this achievement, so we did another run, a very uneventful run through the game on easy mode. I did do it off stream and accidentally picked up another achievement for defeating Mora without taking damage when I wasn't recording, and at the end of that run we unlocked the last achievement. And that's it. 25 hours later the game is fully complete. The series is complete, and I have to say it was a blast completing both of these games, excluding the 1 achievement in the first game which took me longer to unlock than the whole of this game took me to beat. But if you think you can beat my time, or if you've already beaten the time, let me know in the comments below, or if you have a particular game you want me to tackle in the next hunt for achievement, drop your suggestions below, or whilst I'm live over on Twitch and we'll add it to the ever expanding list of suggestions. Before you go, make sure to smash that like button if you found this achievement hunt adventure as thrilling as I did, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to join our ever growing community of fellow hunters. But for now, this is the Smiley signing off, and I'll catch you in the next one.